Problem number 10 on the midterm geometry. All right, how am I going from 2 and 3 to 3 and negative 2? What happened here? Did I add something? Did I flip them? Right? And so when you look at this, how did I get to 3, negative 2? It looks like these flipped, right? So the x came here, and the y is here, right? And the x became negative. Now, did that happen on the next one? Did it happen over here? When I got to negative 1 and 5, did the y go to where the x was? Is that true? Yeah. And then did the x go where the y is, but it became the opposite? Yeah? No. So this is the transformation that we're using. What does this represent? What does it represent when we rotate, when we do x for y, right? When we rotate them, right? You remember these things? Remember when it was x plus something, right? And y plus something, right? That's what we said was translation. Right? When we flip across the x-axis, when we just reflect, right? If I reflect across the x-axis, what happens? So that means if this is 2, right, and this is 1, well, the y is going to stay the same, right? But x-axis. So the x is going to stay the same across the x-axis, right? But the y changed, right? The y went from a positive to a negative. So when I reflect across the x-axis, then the x stayed the same, but the y became opposite. And the opposite is going to happen, right? If I go reflecting across the y-axis, right? If I go this way, the y is going to stay the same, right? But the x is going to be opposite. Now, does any of these match that one? No, right? So there's only one left, right? Rotation. And what a rotation is when we go here, right? So we're going to rotate, right? So we want to know which way are we rotating. Are we rotating this way, right, or that way? And is it going to be 90 or 180? Now 180 is just going to rotate everything. So we're going to have to look at a 90-degree rotation. So if I rotate this over here, what I'm doing is I'm rotating the x and the y. So y becomes x and x becomes y, right? However, when I take this and I rotate it over, right, then is the x going to, what happens is if the x becomes 2, it has to actually become negative 2, right? If I'm going this way, the x has to become negative. So whatever this function is, if I'm going rotating 90 degrees, right, counterclockwise, then this new x has to become negative. Does that make sense? But if I'm going down, right, or clockwise, then the new x, the new y is going to have to be, negative, right? To go down into this realm. Okay? So, rotating clockwise, 90 degrees. So which one is this? This one, right? Okay? So that means we are rotating 90 degrees clockwise. Okay? Better? That should take every single possible scenario, except for 180 degrees rotation. Remember, 180 degrees rotation just means we do this again, which would make the negative x, right, and the negative y, and that would be rotation of 180 degrees, which could also be reflection and reflection, right? So if I reflect across the x and then I reflect across the y, it's the same as if I do a 180 degree rotation. Okay? Done, huh?